today I'm going to talk a little bit about scatterplots, mostly vocabulary. So as you see on my screen, I have over towards the bottom some pictures. So this word right here, correlation or trend, a connection between two or more things. So the three graphs here, scatterplot or correlation examples. So we always read a graph from left to right. So when we're looking at a graph from left to right, this is an example of a positive correlation, a negative correlation in the center, and then no correlation or no trend on the end. So you're looking for a connection between the data points and what direction the data points are going. Up top of this slide is the word outlier, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. All right, on this slide, you have some examples of strong and weak correlations. So basically what this is telling us about the relationship between the line of best fit and the data points. So if your data points are clustered or surrounding the line of best fit, let me get a different color here. So here's our data points, and they are really close to our line. That's a strong correlation versus our data points are further apart from our line of best fit. That's a weak correlation. So these first two examples are positive because we read from left to right, so they're heading in the positive direction. And my third example is a strong negative because they're tight together around the line of best fit, but they're going in the negative direction. My example down here on the bottom, they're a little bit further apart, but they are so that would be a weak correlation. And then on the end, there's no pattern at all. Right here on the end, there's no pattern at all. So that is an example of what a no correlation would look like. Okay. The word outlier. The word outlier is just used to describe a data point that lies outside of your normal data points. So here you have in the red some data points that lie outside of the pattern of points. So we call them outliers. The green here, that's called a cluster. So any a cluster is a group of data points on a graph, and you can see that there. That's a cluster. Okay. All right, here we go. Here's an example on my screen. On the left, this would be an example of a weak positive correlation. So you have a line of best fit, that's that red line, and then you have your blue data points, and they're spread out. So they are not tight to the line, so that's weak. Up here on the top, that's an outlier. So it's a data point that kind of falls outside of the other points. On the right, that would be considered a weak negative correlation. Okay. And then at the bottom here, you have an outlier. Okay. Just some examples for you to look at. Here's an example of just a table and what it would look like on a scatter plot. Now, this, when you put these points, they almost form a straight line, but it's not exactly straight. So, and this mimics real life. So if we look here, we have a change that's happening in the x of 1, but the y is not a constant rate of change. This is going up by 1.6, 1.8, 1.8, 1.8, and then by 3. Okay? So it's not a constant rate of change. And when we graph that, it looks like the blue points on the graph. So it's almost a straight line, but not exactly. And that is what forms a scatter plot. And then on the next screen, I have another